We want to ensure that every veteran across America, anybody who's eligible for their VA loan, can have access to the full scope of what the VA offers them as a home loan benefit.
The big part about VA that people sometimes don't realize is that the VA doesn't loan money. All they do is guarantee the loan. I use the word they vouch for somebody. You could also use the word, hey, they sort of like insure the loan. It's a slightly different definition, but similar concept. So a bank loans the money. Why is this important? Because a bank wants to get their VA guarantee that says, yes, I got my, my protection. And in order to get that VA guarantee, they just need to meet the VA guidelines, which, what would you call that, about 3 inches thick? So this is the VA guidelines. I just happen to print them out. Mine have all sorts of tabs and everything else all over them. As long as you meet those guidelines, you get a VA guarantee. Do banks just use these guidelines? No, because they sit there and go, these guidelines are a minimum. I can always add my own rules, and there are places you will look at the VA guidelines and say, you're a little liberal there. I want to tighten that up a little bit, so I'm going to require a credit score. VA technically has a rule that says you can do this without a credit score. Poor credit alone is not reason to deny a file, but bad credit is. That's really hard to institutionalize across a giant bank to say, okay, all my underwriters, you guys just each one of you figure it out as you go. So sometimes it's easier to say, hey, our minimum credit score is fill in a number. Some banks will say 620, some banks will say 640, some banks will say 660. And that'll be their minimum. And it'll be buried in their guide that looks something like this. Maybe it has a blue cover. And it'll just be a sentence in that section. And if you've worked at that bank as a loan officer for 30 years or even 3 years, you know your blue VA guidelines. And it says, no, our minimum credit score is a 660. I'm sorry, ma'am, I can't do your loan. What happens when that client you meet at an open house who seems so eager to go buy a house goes and gets pre-approved because you say, are you pre-approved? And they go, oh, let me go take care of that Monday morning. They go to their typical bank. Their bank says you're denied for a VA loan because you have a 650 credit score. What does that client then do? They go become a renter because they think a VA loan is a VA loan is a VA loan. And they don't realize that, hey, the VA loan they just got denied for at their typical bank is because of a bank rule. And that bank person might not even realize that. So this is where all the confusion comes into the industry. This is why you can sit at your brokerage and talk to 3 fellow agents and say, we've all done 3 VA deals. Why is it we all got different answers about how to deal with termite? This is ridiculous. This is, stinking government program. It's not the government program. It's each lender adding their own rules. And this is why it gets confusing because sometimes the lenders don't know where their rules start and where the VA rules have left off. So that's why Bank A and Bank B are different. And this is why everything gets so confusing.